So if you don't care about hearing the first 4 parts, I'll give you the gist. I'm a waitress at a diner. I've worked here for 6 years and I've encountered a lot of weird stuff. I'm going to tell you about my experiences. This one, the Leshy incident, this is comparatively a lot lighthearted compared to part 4. Anyway, it was around 2 in the morning. Jay, Loretta, and I were sitting in a booth talking. Jay was telling us that he had gotten a cat who had gotten in a very playful mood and ended up scratching up his hands. Jay's like, "It looks like I lost a fist fight with a very pissed off rosebush." To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if plants did come to life. I think there was a movie about that. The door opened and Jay and I got up to tend to our customer. An elderly man walked in. He had a long beard and hair that at first I thought he had dyed green, so I figured that he might have been one of those cool old guys. He wore clothing that looked like it was made out of foliage, and he wore a red scarf. I noticed that it looked like his right shoe was on his left foot, while his right foot was bare. Either way, I still thought he was cool. However, something about him seemed familiar, but I couldn't quite place where I might have seen him before. "Welcome," I greeted the man, smiling. The man smiled in what seemed like a mischievous manner. And he's all, "Hello, darling," in a really gruff way. Jay's like, "Hi," and the man is like, "Hello, young man." The man went to the bar counter and I set a menu in front of him as he sat down. "Thank you, darling." He opened it and looked at it. Dre says, "What would you like to drink?" And get this, the man goes, "The blood and tears of your enemies," in like the most serious way. What the hell? Jay and I looked at each other in disbelief. "I'm sorry, but we're out of that," says Jay. The man laughed, rather joyfully. "I'm just messing with you two. I'll take some iced tea." Jay says, "Okay," and went to go get the man's drink. "Do you guys have anything vegan?" asked the man, who later claimed his name was Leshy. "Oh, yeah, it's here in the back," I said, turning the menu over for him to see the vegetarian section. "Thank you, darling," said Leshy, looking at the menu. "You're welcome," I said. "Call either Jay or me if you're ready to order." Jay had returned with Leshy's tea. Leshy smiled at him. "Thank you, young man." "You're welcome," said Jay. Jay and I went into the kitchen. Jay asks me, "Do you recognize him, Autumn?" Despite Loretta and Jay knowing my real name, they usually refer to me as Autumn since it's the name I use at the diner. I nodded. "Yeah, he seems familiar, but I can't place it." "Why, do you recognize him?" "He seems familiar, that's why I'm asking you," said Jay. It was weird, but I don't think I had served him before, and I don't think I saw him before in the diner, even though he seemed familiar. I shrugged and looked at the clock. "I'm gonna go give Sasquatch his order." I grabbed the garlic necklace and picked up the box of raw meat. It seemed like when a supernatural creature appears, the vampire doesn't show up. It's weird. I went outside and walked over to the trees where Sasquatch was waiting. I placed the box on the ground and went to the diner. I leaned against the wall. I was still stumped on Leshy, though. I thought I would recognize someone with a green beard and green hair. No one I knew had a green beard. "Hey, Autumn," Jay said. I looked at him. "What?" "I think you need to see this," said Jay. I went inside the diner where Jay led me to the dining area. Jay pointed at the bar stools, which is now stacked on one another in a way that just looked impossible to pull, especially in a short time span. I looked around to find Leshy and found him sitting in a booth, grinning broadly. "Did you do that?" I asked Leshy, pointing at the bar stools. Leshy did that joyful laugh again. "You humans are so easy to mess with." Ah, so he wasn't human. It made sense on why he was here in the middle of the night. It also explains why his name didn't even sound like a name to give to humans. Jay's all, "Sorry that we're gullible?" And I go, "You mess with humans?" As Jay and I were fixing the stools. "Yes," said Leshy. "Sometimes in the woods, I led them off trails." Jay goes, "Do you ever lead them back?" "Yeah," said Leshy. I'm not a total jerk. Anyway, are you ready to order? Asked Jay. Or do you need a few more minutes? I'm ready to order, young man, said Leshy. I went to the kitchen so I can help Loretta if she needs any assistance. That guy looks familiar, said Loretta. I just can't place where. He's supernatural, I said. Loretta nodded. Makes sense. Jay returned. He said that we can take as much time as we want. So I'm like, why? So he can rearrange our diner? I was joking, of course. But Jay was all, probably, and just shrugged. Anyway, the three of us got to making Leshy's food. I delivered it only to find that Leshy had gone to a separate booth, and the napkin dispensers had made the points of a star with napkins connecting to the points. It wasn't a pentagram, just a regular 5-pointed star. Okay, that's actually really creative, I said before giving Leshy his food. Is there anything else that you need? No, thank you, darling, said Leshy. I was heading back to the kitchen when I heard, excuse me? I turned and went back to Leshy. Yes? I just want to say that your establishment has my protection. I frowned. Why? You and your co-workers feed many of the supernatural creatures that lurk in the woods. You have my protection. I nodded. Thank you. Leshy smiled in that mischievous way again. You're welcome, darling. I wasn't entirely sure what he could do to protect the diner, but I wouldn't doubt whatever it is that he'll do to protect the diner. He seemed sincere enough, though. He did try to pay for his food with leaves before he laughed and handed us actual dollar bills. However, Loretta did see that Leshy had also rearranged all the knickknacks that we had. Well, I know what we're doing for the rest of our shift,